South Jamaica, baby, they made me to be the greatest. Serving the deed of my creators, fresh off of my high haters. It's the king again, Magdalene, chauffeured, bragging and boasting.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Dollars. Welcome back to the channel. It's another day, another dollar video, and I'm going to be checking out the Deadly Civil War in Toronto, Jane and Finch by the Kid Nerd. He does a lot of documentary style videos, pretty dope. I reacted to a few of them already. It's like the same, you know, trap geek type of vibe and stuff, but he mostly touches on the UK, and I guess this is his first video talking about Toronto and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna cover stuff that we already know. Probably gonna mention Houdini, Pressa, Doovie. He's probably gonna touch on those subjects. So, you know, let's see what he's talking about, man. You already know the vibes, man. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get it.
Now, a lot of people all over the world have probably all heard of or listened to artists like Drake, Tory Lanez, or The Weeknd, but a lot of people probably don't know much about the big city they grew up in. Today, we'll be looking at the streets of Toronto and how it was a miracle that the artist I just named managed to make it out. Let's get into the video. So like I said before, we are going inside Canada. As a whole, Canada has always struggled with being overlooked in the music scene, especially in hip-hop. Before the late 2000s...
I mean, you really can't say that no more. I mean, some of the top artists in the game is from Canada. The Weeknd, Drake, Justin Bieber. There's even a bunch of... Jessica Reyes, I believe her name, or Jessie Ray. Like, they got a lot of artists that you'd be surprised it's from Canada, you know what I'm saying? If you're talking about like rappers, you know, it's not that many. You know, you got the Tory Lanez, you got the Navs, you got the Drake, but as a whole, musically, they're doing pretty good, you know, I would think.
The only type of Canadian-born music that really managed to hit mainstream was coming from the rock genre, with Canadian artists like Avril Lavigne
I love
and groups
Avril.
like Nickelback dominating the charts in the early 2000s.
Nickelback?
It would take all the way up to the early 2010s, when Canada's first global hip-hop success would be found. But before we get into all this about the come-ups of Toronto rappers, let's look into the dangerous streets young Toronto rappers have to come up on. And one of the most notorious areas in the Greater Toronto area is around an hour away from downtown Toronto, in a neighborhood called Jane and Finch. When outsiders look at Toronto, it's easy to focus on the big skyscrapers and modern buildings in downtown Toronto, but Toronto is a massive city.
Can't hold you, I can't wait to go over there.
With it being around 4.5 times bigger than London, so far away from all the modern and exciting inner city, there's areas like Jane and Finch. Now, Jane and Finch doesn't have the best reputation in Toronto. It's quite notorious for being a low income and crime-ridden neighborhood, to say the least. And a lot of this is due to a big divide in the neighborhood, which has haunted the area in the last few decades. See, Jane and Finch isn't seen as one whole area. The neighborhood has been split into two sides, one being North Jane and Finch, and the other being South Jane and Finch. And both sides don't have the best relationship with each other. Dating all the way back to the 90s, there's always been a big rivalry between both sides. There's been many attempts throughout the years to die down tensions, like one concert in 2001, which was held to bring both sides under one roof. But
damn, he's mentioning a concert in 2001, so this has been brewing for years, way before Pressa, way before Doovie. There's already been tension between those two sides.
This didn't end well, with two men being shot dead when the concert came to an end.
Wow.
See, Jane and Finch's gang history.
So they did a concert to try to stop the beef, right? And at the end of the concert, two dudes were shot to death? Wow.
Runs real deep. The north side of Jane and Finch are Crips, and the south side are Bloods. And as you probably know, Bloods and Crips normally don't have the best relationship. So let's first look at north side Jane and Finch. home
you think?
to the Crips. Now, just like there are two sides of Jane and Finch, there are also a lot of small residential areas inside the neighborhood. There are still some residences inside Jane that don't get along with other residences inside their own half of the neighborhood. One residence, which is probably the most infamous inside North Jane and Finch, is an area called Driftwood. Now, Driftwood is home to the first big music movement coming out of Jane and Finch, from some Driftwood Crips, who now go by the name of Wasgang. And the first artist to really put on for the group was a Driftwood artist called Robin Banks, who burst onto the scene in early 2015 with songs like Up Next, which pioneered a new trap wave sound to Toronto. But it wouldn't be...
You know, when I think about it, it's like, you know, it's messed up because if Robin Banks never would have got shot and he would have still been, you know, not paralyzed or whatever, he probably would have been doing his thing right now with the music. Like, I know he'd be dropping every now and then, but it's like, you know, I feel like obviously, without saying it, that really impacted the whole what could have been with that music scene and stuff. Like Robin Banks, Pressa, like YG, Top, like that was a whole big movement. So I mean, some of them still around, but it's just like it's not the same, bro.
Long until someone from Robin Banks' crew would be brought to national attention after a Crip from Driftwood called Wasi was shot dead on July 25th, 2015.
Was was like the Toronto King Von. I don't want to put him on that level with King Von because King Von had multiple, but just the same type of personality, crazy. He got the dreads. He just gives me that freaking vibe, bro. Like, look at his right eye. Feel me? He got that demonic look to him. Like he just want to do some bad shit.
Wasi grew up in the Driftwood area, but early on in life started finding himself in trouble with the law, which led him to being in and out of jail from a young age. But on June 28th, 2015, Wasi would take his life of crime to the next level. Around 6 a.m, Wasi and his friend would find themselves going to an apartment party near downtown Toronto. But it would only be an hour after the two stepping in the party that, according to Wasi's friend, Wasi took interest at another party goer's gold watch and chain. An altercation happened, which ended with two men being shot dead and Wasi and his friend making a run for it. Wasi and his friend became main suspects for the murder after CCTV footage was found of the pair leaving the apartment straight after the murder. CCTV footage even captured Wasi and his friend reenacting the murder while they was leaving the apartment.
Don't they see the camera though in the corner though? Like that's one thing that baffles me is like you see a camera there and you guys is talking about it and reenacting it. Like that's some different shit. And another thing, man, that's why we don't do the hood parties, you feel me? I don't even like going to clubs, bro. Feel me? If it ain't a nice restaurant we could go out to eat or watch the game or something, bro, I'm good.
Wasi's friend handed himself in after they were wanted, but Wasi had other ideas and went on the run. Most people, when they're on the run for a murder, they would normally hide out or move to a low-key part of the country, or even attempt to leave the country completely. But Wasi had different plans, and was just living like any other person in the city would, going clubbing in downtown Toronto.
He was out in broad daylight.
This was short-lived. With less than a month after the double murder, there were reports that Wasi was inside the club in Toronto, and in no time, several undercover officers were waiting outside the club, ready to catch him. Wasi left the club and got into a car, and this was when undercover officers made their move, blocking in the vehicle. But stuff went left when shots started firing between the police officers and Wasi, with a shot ending up hitting Wasi in the chest, sadly killing him. Wasi was loved.
He said he wasn't going in.
And respected a lot, especially in his Driftwood area, with Robin Banks and his crew even renaming their music group to Was Gang in remembrance to him. And a lot of members even started rocking gold chains with a pendant of his face on it. Wasi's crazy story brought a lot of attention towards North Jane and Finch, and there was only more attention to the area after another double murder took place and after party of the biggest Toronto rapper Drake's OVO festival. Every year, Drake holds a massive festival in Toronto and invites some of the biggest artists to perform to his home city, creating one of the biggest events in Toronto. And the nightclub in Toronto called Music Nightclub was hosting the after party, which a few high profile people were attending. But somehow, despite all the security and police guarding the club, someone managed to get inside the club and let off several shots, hitting a man who went by the name of Slugger, killing him inside the club. After the shots, people started to disperse outside the club, but shooting continued outside, with several shots hitting random civilians trying to escape the carnage. Sadly, one of these shots ended up hitting a young woman who was desperately trying to get into a cab to escape the bullets. Slugger was linked to the Crips in an area called Rexdale, who have a feud with the Crips in Driftwood. Now, a few months after this week of madness, Robin Banks, alongside some of his friends from Driftwood, dropped a song which blew up more than they probably thought. The song, named Was Gang, dropped in November 2015 and quickly amassed millions of views on YouTube, bringing listeners from all over the world in probably their first introduction into real Toronto street.
So what, they mentioned Slugger with that song or something? Like, I'm trying to find the connection. Like, Slugger dies, a week later they dropped that song, Was Gang. You know what's funny, bro? Like, I know if I was to go back and react to the old Toronto songs that I reacted to in the past, I would catch everything now, because I'm so up in tune with everything that's going on over there with the scene. Like, I would know certain lines of talking about this person. Like, everything would make sense now. Plus, I know the Toronto lingo. Yeah, like, I always think about that. And every now and then I do listen to some of the old songs I reacted to, you know, so I start catching little lines here and there.
Music, showcasing the world to Robin Banks and another rapper who soon after would take over the Toronto rap game.
Press Machine.
In this song, Presser really stood out over everyone else with his unique high-pitched voice and baby face, creating an early buzz for himself. Presser started making more noise in 2016, releasing songs like Demiana and TBH getting millions of views. But before Presser even picked up a mic, he was already well known in Jane and Finch. Less than 2 months of being born, Presser's dad hit national.
Don't tell me you're gonna mention the infamous kidnapping, please, because we've been over that plenty of times already.
After he got into an altercation with a security guard after he was angry waiting in the line for too long outside the party. After a while of waiting, he calmly went to his car to grab a gun and shot the security guard in the chest, killing him. Presser's dad ended up getting
So his dad was a crash out.
15 years
Noted.
to life for this murder before Presser even properly started in life, leaving Presser's mum to attempt to take care of him and his older brother alone.
Yo, bro, he looked like a little 5-year-old girl right here, bro. Yo, that's crazy.
But with Presser growing up in the streets of Driftwood without having a proper father figure with him, led him and his older brother to get involved in crime from an early age. In 2011, this caught up to Presser and his older brother, with both of them getting caught up in a gang takedown, dubbed Project Marvel, which took down 60 alleged violent gang members around the Driftwood area. Presser's brother was actually labelled the leader of the gang in the area, and Presser himself was treated as the second in command, despite him only being around 15 at the time. Presser's brother
Was the second in command? It's the first time I'm hearing that. Like, I know about the Bun Dog being caught up in Project Marvel and being the leader, but how old was Bun Dog when he got locked up too? And I know when he came out, I believe it was due to this Project Marvel shit. Like, the time he served was in connection with that case.
Brother would end up getting sentenced to 10 years for gun, drug and gang charges.
10 beans.
And Presser ended up spending a little bit of time inside himself. But in 2016, Presser started making a new avenue for himself, with him quickly being quite a big music figure in the Toronto scene. But it wouldn't be long before Presser will be wrapped up into another case that could have easily ended his career short. A few months after, Presser dropped probably his biggest solo track at the time, called Demiana. West Gang were throwing an apartment party in downtown Toronto when an opposing gang crashed the party. This led to a shootout between the two groups in the corridor of the apartment, leading all the way to the elevators of the apartment. Not long after this, allegedly West Gang members invited over two 17-year-old boys to an apartment who they thought tipped off their ops about their party. When the two boys got to the apartment, they were subjected to some quite crazy stuff. It was said they were tied to a chair so they couldn't escape and were regularly beaten. They were even forced to play Russian roulette with a loaded handgun. This went on for around 48 hours until they moved to another location, which even happened to
I ain't gonna hold you. Being tied to a chair and forced to play Russian roulette, that's crazy. And we already know what else happened, but damn.
be one of the kidnappers' home addresses. While one of the kidnappers' family was still inside and living inside the property, it was claimed that the two boys were even forced to do sexual acts on each other. The kidnappers, after some time, demanded the family members of the two boys for $3,000 for their release, and a further $10,000 for the videos of them two doing sexual acts not to be posted online, which was eventually paid out, and the boys were released. Now, Presser actually got charged for this kidnapping case a few days after the release of the two boys, but managed to bail out while police were still collecting evidence and everything.
See, one thing about what he just mentioned with the kidnapping and stuff, I wonder, like, when dudes be doing shit like that, right? Do they ever think about, like, yo, you know, the stuff that I'm doing, it could always come back to me. So you wouldn't want to do something to somebody that you don't want being done to you, like forcing dudes to do you know what to each other. Like, that's disgusting, bro. You feel me? Like, that's like, again, like, you would have to kill me. You would have to kill me, bro. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, like, I understand those are your enemies and stuff, or your ops or whatever. Like, that doesn't even have to be said, because we know what goes down, right, in the streets. But like, sometimes, bro, like, don't do something, don't cross a line that you don't want a line being crossed on you. You feel me? At least with like the mafia and the mob, they have some type of morals. You know, like, they don't conduct business on Sundays. They don't believe in attacking your family or going after kids or chill, like stuff like that, bro. It gotta be some type of guidelines. And I know there's no rules in the streets, but you know, that separates the boys from the men, you know, because there's real stand-up dudes that live by a code at least and have some type of morals, even though they playing in the streets, bro.
And when Pressa came out, he started showing that he wasn't playing around with his music career, dropping tracks throughout the rest of 2016, hitting millions of views, which at this point was hella rare for a Canadian rapper. Drake even co-signed Pressa, eventually taking him out to tour with him in Europe, leading everyone in Canada to
he co-signed Pressa, but he didn't sign him.
Think that they have a new superstar on their hands. Robin Banks was also doing his thing, dropping tracks like Priceless, which was easily one of the hottest tracks coming out of Toronto in 2016, and Robin Banks continued to drop bangers in the first half of 2017. On the 14th of April 2017, Robin Banks' music career was put on hold. Robin Banks' friend was celebrating his birthday in a shisha bar up in the city, so Banks pulled up to the bar to show some love to his friend, but someone in the bar must have gave the drop that Robin Banks was there, because when Banks and some of his friends went outside the bar to smoke, two men were waiting outside in a blacked out car and let off several shots hitting 3 people, but mostly targeting Robin Banks.
Damn.
Banks was shot 9 times in his legs, stopping him from being able to run away from the shots, but a final shot to the neck dropped him to the ground, and Robin Banks was rushed to hospital in a life-threatening condition. When the news came out, quite a few reports on social media were claiming that Robin Banks had lost his life to the shots, but luckily Banks managed to power through, eventually waking up a couple days afterwards thanks to his treatment. Banks started doing well in hospital, and friends and family were looking forward to a full recovery.
My question to y'all, do y'all feel like he regrets living that lifestyle? Like after being shot and paralyzed? Like, do you feel like he thinks about it now? Like, damn, maybe I should have never chose this lifestyle. Cause look, I mean, he's alive, but he's paralyzed, bro, from the neck down. Like, that shit is different, man. Y'all noticing the theme though, right? Every time he mentioned like the club, look, Sluggo got hit up in the club, Robin Banks hit up in the club, Wasi got caught up leaving the club. Like, you see how bad these clubs are, bro?
But around a month later, the news broke that Robin Banks may never be able to walk again, with shots to his legs literally crippling him, leaving him in a wheelchair. But this didn't stop him, with him still releasing tracks and continuing to grow his up-top label, despite him literally being paralyzed, which is quite inspiring. But Robin Banks was left with a better fate than a lot of rappers in his area. Toronto throughout the years has had quite a bad luck with their rappers. It kinda seems like there's a curse going round. Anytime it looks like a rapper is on his way up, they always end up dying or getting caught up in a really bad case.
Sounds like New York to me, bro. You could literally say that's New York, bro. Feel me? Look what happened to Bobby Shmurda and them. 6ix9ine getting caught up in a RICO and then telling. Pop Smoke being the best rapper at the time, dying. Now K-Fly, like that's like New York the last couple of years.
Back around the same time, Pressa was arrested for his kidnapping case. A new up-and-coming rapper from a nearby opposing area to West Gang, called Sizzlack, was shot and killed days after he released his biggest track called Realist in the Sis. Another rapper from the same area, Sizzlack, was also shot dead in 2017 called Young Dubs. Around the same time of Young Dubs' murder, another West Gang rapper called YG was a top suspect in a shooting which left an opposing gang member dead, and he went on the run to America. And yet again, another West Gang rapper by the name of FB was remanded for a case where him and three...
Speaking of YG, I find it interesting, right? Like, he's been caught up in cases and shit. I know he beat a case. Like, there was a shooting that happened in Rexdale that they try to say he did in his blue tee. He had a lawyer that got him out of that. But then I see him traveling with Pressa, going to the UK when that whole Kodak Black whole situation was happening. Kodak Black was performing in the UK, and YG and Pressa were there rapping along. But it's like, so he doesn't have nothing on his record preventing him from traveling? Or he could just go to the UK? Because I don't think I've seen him travel to LA. I know Bundo be traveling anyway, no matter what. But yeah, I know they could do it illegally. Like, they could try to cross the border and travel, but that was just sticking out to me because like what's going on with YG's case that he's able to travel, but maybe it's just he travels illegally, who knows.
3 other men allegedly ran up an illegal marijuana dispensary, pistol whipped a worker, and tying up any staff members inside the shop in plastic restraints until the police pulled up and they escaped. But one of the biggest losses to come from the Toronto rap scene came on June the 30th, 2018, a rapper called Smoke Dog. Now in 2018, Smoke Dog was one of the biggest things coming out of Toronto. He was coming out of a neighborhood called Regent Park, located in downtown Toronto. But despite Regent Park being just minutes away from the rich and thriving centre of the city, and even Regent Park itself being redeveloped into quite an impressive area, it still contains quite a few low-income residents who are left to try and keep up with the pretty much unaffordable cost of living in downtown Toronto. Now in June 2018, Smoke Dogg alongside his manager went to a nightclub called Cube, and
Another club.
everything seemed alright, but when Smoke Dogg was outside the club, he got into an argument with a Wasgang rapper called 21 Knee, which ended with Smoke Dogg alongside his manager being shot dead. It's rumoured that 21 Knee mocked Smoke Dogg just before this incident, due to Smoke Dogg's chain being robbed recently before, and then after this, all hell just broke loose. 21 Knee went on the run, all the way to
My whole thing, right, with that situation, like I know Smoke Dogg got his chain robbed, but that was like with Casper's crew. 21 Neat, did he have a beef with Smoke Dogg before that went down? Like, why would you go and just mock him for, like, cause he got his shit snatched if you never had problems with that, man? That's what I'm confused about. And then to me, it seems like just hating, bro. Smoke Dogg was popping at that time. He was doing his thing, and this dude was a hater. That's just plain and simple. And that's something a lot of people don't want to talk about. There's a lot of haters in this world, bro. A lot of this shit be over. A lot of the people that be getting killed and the beefs be over haters, bro. Dudes just hating and jealousy. That's a bitch emotion in my eyes, bro. In my opinion, that's a bitch emotion to have. To be hating on what somebody else is doing, if they're going up, if they being successful, if they getting love, they doing their thing, and you just hating, you want to take that man's life, bro. Like, it's not over no real situation a lot of times. And I hate that shit.
To the other side of Canada, but was eventually caught and found guilty of second-degree murder. Now this whole situation was kinda weird, because Wasgang's area, Driftwood, and Smoke Dogg's area, Regent Park, didn't really seem to have much issues with
You see what I'm saying, bro? Like, he's even gonna talk about it because Smoke Dogg and Presser went on tour with each other. They got that song together, which I love. You know what I'm saying? They were cool. So, like, that's what I'm not understanding.
each other prior to this murder. Like, both areas are easily around 30 to 45 minutes away from each other, and the Driftwood rapper Presser and Smoke Dogg seem to have a good relationship with each other, with them both being part of Drake's European tour and being seen in several pictures with each other. But the murder of Smoke Dogg caused tension between both Regent Park and Driftwood, and the response to this was worse than anyone expected. By 2020, long after his kidnapping charges were dropped, Presser took his music career to the next level and had moved out to Los Angeles ready to take on the US music scene. And it was seeming like another rapper coming straight out of Driftwood was looking to join him soon, called Houdini. Houdini was creating a crazy buzz in Toronto, with tracks like Late Night, which is on now 11 million views. You could really tell
Houdini would have been the one to me, in my opinion. Like, y'all know how I feel about Bully. Bully was my favorite. Then it's Young Lava. But Houdini, he had all the ingredients to actually make a huge noise on the scene in America, bro. Like, I could see him doing songs with Travis Scott, doing songs with Kanye, like doing songs with the bigger artists. You feel me? So he would have definitely made it.
Houdini was taking his music career serious as well when he moved to the other side of Canada in a city called Vancouver, so he could be closer to LA where he was networking. And anytime he was in Canada, he would stay well away from Toronto. But deep into COVID times in 2020, after several months away from his family, he decided it was time to go visit them in Toronto during the Easter period. During his time back in the city, he was staying at his friend's Airbnb in downtown Toronto, but in May 26th, tragedy struck. Word got around that Houdini was back in the city, and when Houdini and a couple friends were out and about in the center of the city, a rented blue Volkswagen managed to lock onto the vehicle Houdini had been traveling in, and waited around 40 minutes for Houdini and his friends to go back into his car. When Houdini walked past the blue Volkswagen, the Volkswagen U-turned and started letting off shots into Houdini and his friends. Houdini started running for his life immediately, while one of his friends was shooting back at the attackers. But it was clear that Houdini was the car's target, with the car catching up to Houdini and the shooter jumping out to get some more shots off onto him. The scene just looked like a complete mess.
The crazy thing about it is he wasn't lacking, bro. He had the shooters with him and still got caught. That's the crazy thing. My whole thing is, how the hell did they know that that man was gonna be there at that time, bro? Like, that smells setup. That smells of a setup. That somebody backdoored him, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe he was posting his location and they found out what Airbnb he was and was watching his movements or something. But I don't know, bro. Like, that just seems so off, bro. You know? And he wasn't lacking. You know, that's the crazy thing. But That shit is sad.
Shots were flying everywhere in broad daylight, with civilians in full view. One woman was even hit by a stray bullet. All of this being in the entertainment district of Toronto. In London terms, this is just like a broad daylight shootout happening in Mayfair. It's just something that should not be happening. Houdini managed to get to a nearby alleyway, but by this time he was already shot, which he sadly didn't survive from. This was a big blow to the Toronto scene, and a lot of big rappers paid homage to Houdini, who died way too soon. Houdini had a memorial take place the next month to celebrate his life, which obviously Houdini's friends and family attended, alongside quite a few Was Gang members. But the word came out about the funeral, and a couple uninvited guests pulled up. A massive shootout happened where more than 60 shots were fired, but luckily no one suffered any serious injuries from the shot. 2 Was Gang members.
To me, when dudes be shooting up funerals, bro, that's like adding salt to the wounds. Like, the family and friends are already grieving, and you just want to go over there and just spin and catch somebody else. Like,
was called Burner Bands and GD were arrested for the shooting despite them only defending themselves, leading Regent Park and Driftwood to fully start feuding with each other, all stemming from 21 Neat's murder of Smoke Dog. 21 Neat also has a blood brother part of Was Gang who goes by the name of 22 Neat. But just like 21 Neat, 22's story doesn't end quite well. 22 Neat's sad story started after allegedly another Was Gang rapper called YS, alongside another member called Flipper, were allegedly paid to execute a member of a Canadian mafia. A month after this murder, the Was Gang rapper YS was found dead himself in the execution style murder all the way on the other side of Canada. Now allegedly 22 Neat had something to do with this murder, and a couple days after, 22 Neat was found dead himself in quite a crazy month of events. Now we're in 2023 and
that YS mystery is actually, that's crazy. We need a video on that. Like, what really happened to YS?
Jayna Finch are left wondering how big some of these artists could have been if they stayed alive. Press is still holding it down for the north side of Jayna Finch, setting up camp in LA and still releasing good music. Robin Banks doesn't release too much anymore, focusing on other ventures while still being paralyzed. Another Was Gang rapper who went by the name Tall Up Twin was a victim of a triple murder inside an apartment party in downtown Toronto. It's even alleged that he actually killed the 2 other victims in the triple murder and then shot himself in the head after realizing what he had done. But he still has a twin that still raps till this day. The south side of Jayna Finch has always struggled a bit with producing big rappers. One rapper which has seen quite a bit of success is a rapper called LB Spiffy, who was actually one of the first underground Toronto rappers I've listened to back in 2017 to 18. Another up and coming rapper coming out of South Jane was NHS JJ, but sadly yet again he was a victim of a murder in 2020. But the hottest rapper coming
JJ is one of them that probably could have did something too, because he was unique. JJ has some songs I like.
out of South Jane is definitely a rapper called Doovie, who started seeing nationwide success after his hit single called Nightmares. Hopefully we start to see more underground Toronto rappers making
Damn, boy was skinny, bro. That lean gave him mad weight.
out of Toronto like Presser. And let me know in the comments if you want me to cover any more crazy Canadian stories. But for now, it's been your boy Kid.
Alright, man. Well, listen, one thing I would say to you youngins out there, bro, y'all be looking up to these rappers. Y'all look up to this lifestyle. Y'all think it's all fun and games, but y'all don't see the consequences. When you rapping, talking about certain things, putting out that energy, beefing, you thinking it's all for views and clout, and y'all don't see the darker side to it. I mean, y'all do see the darker side, because how many times we hearing of rappers getting killed or getting arrested? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, man, like, I understand that's a way to get out the hood and make money. You know, they say, oh, all we got is basketball and music and movies or whatever, but, you know, there's more to life than that, man. There's way more to life than just pursuing this fast lifestyle, because listen, all the shit that people lust after, when you die, you don't take it with you. You can't bring none of this stuff with you into the afterlife with you, bro. So, you know, stop chasing after that, man. Start chasing a spiritual journey, trying to figure out who you really are. You know, as a man, as a kid growing up, y'all got to figure it out. You know, it took me time to figure it out too. But, you know, again, like I said, there's more to life than chasing after this bullshit. You know, like, yeah, it's fun to make music and it is fun and exciting. But after a while, it's like, it really leaves you empty. You know what I'm saying? Unless you actually making money from it. And a lot of these rappers aren't making money. Feel me? They are portraying a lifestyle, which a lot of these dudes be broke. A lot of these dudes really don't be putting in that work they be rapping about, you know what I'm saying? So, and then these kids be brainwashed looking up to these dudes, thinking they got to do the same thing, not realizing that their favorite rapper is a fraud. But with that being said, again, you know, he really didn't cover nothing that I didn't know already. But it's always good to get a fresh perspective from different people on the scene or whatnot. But it's your boy Dollars. I'ma holla. Hit that like button and subscribe. You already know the vibes. We off this.
For my time goes by, they gon' raise a nigga jersey in the sky. Treat a nigga right, big dreaming on my life. Shorty wanna get some air, I go and get her when I fly. Taking off on these niggas I retire. The minute I catch fire, I smoked them all before, just revisiting the high.